Hello and welcome to Tips on Learning the Tones. We're doing Kievan chant in the Orthodox tradition, and today we're going to be talking about tone 5. This is a really nice singable tone, and I hope you'll love it as much as I do by the time you're done and it's more familiar. So, with all of the tones, as I've said before, one of the most important things to do is to really memorize that first line. As long as you get the first line, usually after that, you kind of have a sense of what comes later, if you're familiar with the tone at all. So let's start by talking about the pitch. For tone 5, you're going to be giving a major chord. And again, that's the happy sounding chord. You're going to give 3 notes going from the top down like this. La, la, la. Okay. Now, what's unusual about tone 5 is that the soprano note, the melody, starts on the top note. In a lot of tones, it starts on the middle note. But for tone 5, you're going to start on the top note. Okay. So here we go. La, 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 la. That's your first note for the melody. What distinguishes tone 5 from the other tones is that there is a half note right near the beginning as you're starting on that first line. Sometimes it's the very first note, like we see at the very beginning of our piece here, Lord, I have cried unto thee. You see that half note, 2 beats, where the open note that's not colored in, that gets 2 beats. You see that it's at the very beginning of the line. If you look down to the third line, there's another A line down there, and it's not at the first note, it's at the second note where you have that hold. So it's a little flexible where that half note is, but it's going to be near the beginning on tone 5. And then at the end of that line, you're going up 1 step, and then you're skipping where you started and you're ending on 1 note lower. Okay. In between the beginning where you have a half note and the end where you're going to go up, skip the main line, the main note, and end on the lower note, in the beginning is what we call the recitative area. The part in Kievan chant, all lines have it where you can stuff in as many words as you need to. We don't like to have super long lines because then it becomes very difficult for people to understand. But there's a flexibility for that thought, that sentence, to live within this volley of notes that can be as long as it needs to be. Okay, so let's start singing with line A here. We're going to have our hold. We're going to stay on the same note. And then near the end, we're going to go up and down underneath the main note that we've been on. Okay. Let's give a pitch here. La, fa, re. Lord, I have cried unto thee, hearken unto me. There's our first line. I want you to jump down to the third line where it says attend. Let's sing that. It's the same melody. Attend to the voice of my supplication. Go back up to the top. Lord, I have cried unto thee, hearken unto me. Go across to the next page where you have another A line. Let my prayer be set forth. Let my prayer be set forth. So you can kind of see from all of these A lines that they all have that held note, that 2-beat note, either at the very beginning or near the beginning. And then when you get to the end, there's a half note that's up, hearken unto me. And the last note is down underneath where we were when we started. Okay. Let's look at the B line now. The B line, you are going to go up 2 notes to get to hearken unto me, O Lord. But when you get to the end of the B line, you also have the same rhythm where you have a half note. In this case, where it says me, O Lord, it's half, half, whole. Okay. It can be one half or two halves depending on the text, but you're always going to have at least that one half and then the whole. But there's not a skip in between those notes. They're next door neighbors. So that's a little different than line A. Okay, let's sing lines A and B here. Lord, I have cried unto thee, hearken unto me. Hearken unto me, O Lord. So the B line is pretty straightforward and simple. There's not a whole lot of movement. Let's look at the one down below, when I cry unto thee. When I cry unto thee. See how cry unto thee is the same rhythm as me, O Lord. It's just that unto, we're singing two quarter notes instead of one half note. And that's, again, the flexibility that we have in Kievan chant. You can mix it up a bit, but the rhythm stays the same. When you look across to the other line, the other page, excuse me, as incense before thee, we can see the same melody here. As incense before thee. That one only has half, half, instead of half, half, whole. So it's slightly different because of the words, but it's the same notes, okay? Now the C line is a little bit different. The C line goes up high on the first page. You can already see on the second page it doesn't, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But let's take a look at the B line going into the C line on the first page. Hearken unto me, O Lord. We're going to skip a note. We're going to skip this note. Lord. Okay. Me, O Lord. Lord, I have cried unto thee. Hearken unto me. And I love the ending of that third line in tone 5. It's just one of my favorite parts because it's a nice little bumpy roller coaster ride down to that low note at the very end. Okay, and that's what I'm talking about is the da 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 dum. That's very it's always going to be there on that third line. Okay, so on the third line, if it's longer, you're going to go up higher than you have been, and then you're going to have the da 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 dum at the end of the third line. Let's take it from the top. The A line, Lord, I have cried. Lord, I have cried unto thee, hearken unto me. Hearken unto me, O Lord. Lord, I have cried unto thee, hearken unto me. Then we're back to the A line. Attend to the voice of my supplication when I cry unto thee. And then here's our last line, which is unique from the whole rest of the piece. And it has a nice big sort of wavy feel at the end, okay? Hearken unto me, O Lord. Do that last line one more time. Hearken unto me, O Lord. Let's go to the next page. Let my prayer be set forth as incense before thee, the lifting up of my hands as an evening sacrifice. Hearken unto me, O Lord. Okay, good. Notice that C line on the second page. Remember how I was mentioning earlier that it doesn't go up high like it did on the first page. Lord, I have cried unto thee, hearken unto me. We don't go up that high. The lifting up of my hands. On the second page, that C line is really, really short. We're only getting the last few notes. And sometimes it works out that way, but you can really feel that same ending thing, right? Lifting up of my hands unto thee, hearken unto me. It's very easy to identify the ending of that third line. Okay, so I'm going to step back a few steps now, and I'm just going to do a simple conducting of this piece for those of you who are trying to help lead other people. Okay, so I'm trying to keep my hand nice and steady, just basically doing an up and down beat like this, and I'm going to keep my fingers together. When we put our fingers out, it's actually harder for the choir to identify exactly where your spot is, where the beat is. The beat is at the bottom. It's when I hit this line with my finger, that's where the beat is. Okay, and so when we're conducting, we want to hit the main beats of the piece. And like we've talked about, Kievan chant is not a 4/4 chant. You're not going to have 4 beats per measure. That's why you don't have measures in this music. You are just following the rhythm of the beats and of the language. In any places where you have recitative, where you have a lot of words on one note, you're really following the language, not dun 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 dun, dun at one beat for each syllable. We don't talk that way. It would be difficult for people to understand us if we did. The other piece that's important for just basic conducting is that you want to give a little rise to tell your singers to take a breath, and then you're going to come down on that first beat. And when you come down on that first beat, when you give your second beat, that is telling your choir what the pulse is. Some conductors like to try and think of the pulse in their mind as they're starting or right before they start, while someone else is probably is reading the Psalms in this case. So I'm thinking about my pulse. I want it to be about like this. I'm getting ready. I'm not going to hold this hand here, but I have this imaginary line. That's where my beat is going to land. Okay. I want my choir to sing when I touch that spot. Okay. So here we go. Lord, I have cried unto thee, hearken unto me. Hearken unto me, O Lord. Lord, I have cried unto thee, hearken unto me. Attend to the voice of my supplication when I cry unto thee. Hearken unto me, O Lord. Let my prayer be set forth as incense before thee, the lifting up of my hands as an evening sacrifice. Hearken unto me, O Lord. Okay, so besides this simple rhythm up and down, the only other 2 things I did was give a little sweep up to take a breath before we come down on the first note. And at the end, I made a little circular motion and closed my fingers to show that that is where I want the choir to cut off. When we have a word like Lord, we want everybody to say the D at the same time. So you've got to give a little cutoff at the end, okay? To thee, O Lord. Okay? All right, and there's a lot more complexity that we could add in for choir directing, but for now, I think I just wanted to focus on the simple moves that you can do to kind of keep the choir together. Okay? All right, enjoy tone 5.